in the beginning, I'm most grateful that you all came here. And I just want to explain in brief what I want to talk with you about. There are two topics. This is nutrition, a huge thing nowadays, and the problem or the topic of pacing a race. In the beginning, because you know each other, but I think Rinalds is quite new, so I would like all of you to say a few words, what you want to say about yourself. Only seconds, Mr. McCormack.
Oh. I start over here, not there.
Andi?
Ich bin Andi, I'm Andy, and I'm racing Frankfurt tomorrow, on Sunday.
It's Sebastian. I'm also racing Frankfurt, and I'll hope to race another race this year.
Me? This feels like Alcoholics Anonymous. I'm Chris McCormack. I'm not racing Frankfurt tomorrow or on Sunday, but I'm racing in a few weeks and keen to see how these young guys go. They're always going fast.
My name is Rinalds. I'm really happy to be here with the great athletes. Thanks, Susan, for the invitation. I'm racing Frankfurt on Sunday. It's my first time here in Frankfurt, and actually my first year as a professional triathlete. So I'm happy to gain the experience from world champions.
Thank you very much. So I will start with the topic of nutrition. Nowadays, a lot of talking about food and nutrition and race nutrition. On a scale from 1 to 10, how important is nutrition for race nutrition for you compared to training? How would you scale it? Who wants to start?
Me. Starting with me. Nutrition's a tricky thing. I think over the last decade, my perception of nutrition has changed dramatically. I think I eat way less than I used to. I think when I first came across to IRONMAN racing, I had absolutely no comprehension of nutrition as the fourth discipline of the sport. It was a different era, 2002. I think my first IRONMAN, I had 3 gels. I thought that was a lot of nutrition because I came from Olympic distance where you had no gels. And then on that journey, I started accessing people and hearing stories of how much was needed, and 4 gels per hour, and 1.5 liters of fluid. And I had so many issues with nutrition that I decided to find my own way and do my own tests and just see what my limits were. So I started training with nothing, water and no gels, and finding how far I could go. And over the years, I've molded a nutrition strategy that works for me. And I think after being in transition areas and looking what some of the other guys are taking, I take half of what most people take, just because I think I have issues with the carbohydrate intake during an event, especially as the race gets later, and especially if events are hot. So my advice on nutrition from my journey is that there is no set strategy or plan. Everybody is different, and you need to find your way, and you need to take the time to do that in training, and it's your responsibility, and you can't outsource that. You can't outsource that information. There is no right way, and everyone will have a different strategy.
Can I pass? Who wants to answer next? Andy?
Yeah, it's pretty much the same. You have to go with your own physiology, and extremely important is testing what you do on race day. You have to test and test and test again in training, and if it works for you on smaller races, it will work for you in the important races. And just don't do anything different in your big races just because it's big. It's just the same, and try to do nothing stupid on race day.
Sebi?
Coming back on your question, I think for me it's an 8. Why it's an 8 and not a 10? It's because a lot of people think it's a 10, and they can compensate training with more food intake during a race, which is not working. If your engine is not big enough to burn the fuel you are putting into it, there's no reason to take 20 joules an hour. You are not going faster. So that's the reason why it's not a 10. Why it's not less than 8, I think, as Chris already mentioned, you could have the best engine in the world. Without fuel, it's not running. And I think you really realize how important it is when you screw it up the first time. When you really hit, you know, this big wall because of running out of fuel, and then you realize how important it is. So yeah, that's my opinion on how important it is.
Rinalds?
I believe on the same level. Yeah, 10. If your training is 10, the most important in your recovery, then the nutrition is the same. Because I believe this is the thing can make or break your race, and this is a thing you have to develop for yourself individually. As I said previously, I went through different stages for myself, also having Snickers and Mars on a bike or only gels, and is the still one area is very undeveloped, I believe, in our sports, and has to be developed and researched furthermore.
Is it like this, that you are having more a principle of trial and error? Putting together this race nutrition plan?
Maybe not trial and error, but feeling good and feeling not so good, or feeling better. Just trying and thinking about how you feel and how it worked and how long it worked. Like, if you take faster sugar, how long does it take until you go low on power? Like,
but do you think you go low on? Do you think you go low on power, or do you think? Because I know for myself, not my palate, but my feeling of food is changed from when I was 28 to now. Like, I can't take the. When I was a lot younger, I could do solid foods. Now I can't do solid food at all. I used to be able to do a lot more non-caffeinated gels. Now I need more caffeine. Maybe it's an age thing. Maybe, but I always think that, you know, when you say, and I know with a lot of age groupers I work with, they're always like, yeah, I was feeling bad, so I took a gel and it changed my life. But were you really feeling bad, or did you feel like you were feeling bad? Is it a mental thing, or is it a physical thing? Is your power numbers going down, or is it?
That's what I think. That's the reason why I think nutrition is never a 10.
Yeah, I agree.
You could lose, because if you screw it up but you usually don't do it with purpose. You could only screw it up when you are stupid.
Yeah.
Or I mean, I think you have been stupid when you're only taking 3 gels.
Yeah, that was dumb.
That's just, of course, everybody knows nowadays, but probably back then you didn't know it. But you can't win because you have the perfect race nutrition. Yeah. You could have the best race nutrition in the world. You never win the race.
Yeah. I've found for me, caffeine's as I'm getting later in the race, because you're right, I think my calorie consumption early is good enough to carry me through the race. But where I lose it, or I've found in races, is my mindset. I start to drift and I start to feel like I'm getting fatigued, and caffeine keeps me there. Where other people hate caffeine, it's too jittery. And that's what I was saying, my palate has changed, where when I was younger, I could never take caffeine in a race. It was a no-no for me. But I found as I've aged and got more, I guess, miles under the legs, that feeling of staying clear in a race comes about by caffeinating things, which has got no nutritional value to some degree. Has it, Doc? You're the doc.
It's a different approach, yes.
With caffeine, I think it's the same with sodium. You know, every now and then there's something coming up, and people, of course, I think caffeine is a good thing. It's proven, right? It's the same thing with sodium. If you don't have any sodium at all in the whole race, you start to cramp. But it's the same thing when you mention the age group where they feel bad and then they'll take a gel and then they feel better. It's the same thing with cramps. They say they have cramps, then they take a sodium and then they feel better. So, and that's definitely not the case. I think it's more. It's sometimes the people just overrating it. With the same with caffeine. If you take caffeine gels instead of normal gels the whole way, then have a Coke on the run and everything. I mean, the only thing you probably get is a heart attack or something. Yeah. I mean, it's not helping you. And the next thing is like 20 sodium pills, and it's sodium in the gel also in your drink. So I think it's better always to watch the balance. But of course, I think caffeine is a good thing. Yeah.
Answering your question, I believe this is more like trial and error case, and then. Of course, there are a lot of studies with this 90 grams of carbohydrates per hour and so on and so on. But this is the one thing you have to test, and test not only during the training but during the race, because I believe the mental state you get during the race or preparing for the race is completely different, and you cannot bring yourself up to the same level during the training. And the most tragic thing during the race is when you get mentally dumped and down. So, and this is one very crucial moment. What do you do then? Do you take these gels or caffeines, or as I do, take the booster and believe it helps you, believe it brings you high up, and then you go further.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a very interesting thing, is the role of the carbs, and especially how to find out how much you really need. And we know that we made this survey that we have we've asked almost 600 athletes about their race nutrition and whether they are happy with it and what kind of issues they have, and 75% complain about gut and stomach issues. So there is obviously something going on there that is not quite optimal, and therefore how can you find out what's optimal for you, and when do you decide to adjust things, or when do you know that you're really finding out about a causal relationship and not only an association, because it's very easy to associate things, and this is what happens mainly, that people associate. If they eat something new they never did it and they don't feel good, it's the new whatsoever supplement or carb, it doesn't matter, and they blame it. So how do you try to find out where is there the causal relation between what you take and that you feel good?
Yeah, but the thing is, we're doing Ironman racing. You're not always going to feel good like that.
This is another story,
everyone's going, oh, I felt bad out there. Well, it's Ironman racing. You're going to feel bad. I don't care how perfect your nutrition is. You can have the greatest day in the world. I'm sure Sebi and the guys have had them where everything has been perfection, but it still sucks, man. It's still a horrible day.
There are different sorry that I interrupt. There are different ways of feeling bad.
Yeah. There's bad in control and there's bad out of control. But it's still bad, and I think it's what happens in that moment, and all of us run to nutrition as the answer to fix the problem.
This is
and a lot of the time, if you just focus for a little bit and pulled yourself together, you stay in control of that crappy moment.
Is it like this, that we try to blame something outside ourselves?
It's common sense for all. It's common human nature to say this happened because, and if I didn't get this wrong, then I would have done this. And that's just not the case.
I think if the stress level is too high, then the digestion suffers a lot from it. So I think if people go too hard, they get stomach problems. And it's not because of the nutrition, but just because they go too hard. And then they say, oh, I had stomach problems.
Yeah.
I was running 4 minutes for 20K, and then I
could have done
dropped,
this. My training's been so good, but
and that's the same thing with cramps too. They say, "Oh, I was low on sodium, and that's the reason why I got cramps." But the real reason is they just didn't have the talent or the mileage in training or whatsoever.
Too hard.
And but I think. Another problem really is that a lot of people feel bad and try to compensate it by taking more sugar and stuff like that, and try to squeeze in more calories because it's always the reason why you're going slow at the end of the race, right? It's not because you are just tired and the race is so long and probably you go too hard too early. No, it's always about the energy.
Yeah, this is not true.
And they try to squeeze in like tons of astronaut food, and at the end it's not helping them out.
Do you think it's a question of this kind of energy at all in these age group races?
I mean, you know that we did our own experiment. For example, in the 70.3 race in New Orleans. And I didn't take any gels and no solid food at all. I was just having like one bottle of Coke on the bike. I mean, it's 70.3 race, so you can't really compare it to Ironman racing because you're probably not running out of fuel if you are good trained. But Yeah, I mean, sometimes I think this carbohydrate intake is a little bit overrated. It's more about the right amount for you and not about the absolute amount. And yeah.
And it seems everyone wants an absolute answer. Whenever you get asked a question, they want an absolute answer. What do I need to do in order to be quick like you guys?
Yeah.
You know, it's as if we've got some secret on eating that will turn a donkey into a racehorse in the nicest way, and it just doesn't work like that. There is no formula. Everybody is different.
Now they are really killing. This is overkill now.
This is Iron Man.
This is Iron Man.
You are an Iron Man. Welcome to Frankfurt.
As I previously said, that this is still the most uncertain area for so many people, because with the trainings you get your training plan as an age grouper, you put your miles, your hours in, and then you believe you are good trained for a race. But what about nutrition? So therefore these questions rise. So what do you eat, when, at what hours, what calories do you take into?
Could it actually be that you're
overthinking it?
Yeah, is it not actually like this, that this is perhaps not that important, because it's okay, it's a big industry, and it's more important to have a good nutritional status before you go to the race?
Well, look at what Dave Scott and those guys. I know you're talking about the 80s and it's a different era, but shit, they went fast, man. And he did it on fig Newtons. Figs, man. There was no gels or he was eating figs.
Very good.
I believe Hillary Gale said when he won his Ironman in Hawaii, he went on 1 or 2 bananas or something.
How could you do that? It's impossible. This is what the modern... I spoke to Dave and he was telling me back then he used to have Coke, bananas and figs. There was no such thing as a gel. They didn't exist. Yeah, and they were going 808, 809. Nowadays, the sports scientists or these people would tell you this is not possible. Ask them.
Yeah, but this is, I think, as I told you, we have this publication in the British Journal of Sports Medicine where they say these 2 myths, this is electrolytes and carbs, is going to die. Not very... slowly, but there is a huge change in mindset. And all of you, as far as I know, you are training without these kind of carbs during training. During training, you wouldn't use it. So is it like you could do, as you said, an Ironman without all of this? Are you really believing that the body is using the calories, or is it better that your metabolism is not so busy and you have more so-called energy to get your muscles move and your brain ready to move your muscles? Or
it's like both. I think you have to fuel early in the race, and if you start feeling really bad, you have to minimize your nutrition, because your body has different things to care about than digesting.
Yeah.
Like if you're early on the bike, take the first 100k to have breakfast all the time, not overeating yourself, but having being solid on food, and then when the race really starts, at the end of the bike or after 20k on the run or after 15k on the run, just start to eat as much as you can feel comfortable with.
Yeah, that's also, I think that's also my opinion. I don't want to recommend people on trying to do a long course race without food to have more energy. I think that's not going to work, but it's definitely the reaction are feeling bad. I'm getting tired. Oh, I have to take more calories. It's probably not the right way. You have to have a good baseline, and I think what you already mentioned it's not only in the race. It's like the 10 years before the race. Your body is built of what you put in the belly, and I think that's, of course, that matters at the end, maybe more than what you take in the race. But yeah.
if you run into troubles during a race, do you consider changing your pacing? Is it pacing that might be needed to adjust, or when do you decide I go for it, I speed up, or I have to slow down, or
that's case by case basis. I think it depends where, there is no.
On you, I mean personal.
I've had.
Which parameters do you have?
There's been some. Actually, here in Frankfurt a few years ago, I was behind Neko Lanos, and I was running quick enough, but I wasn't making any inroads on him, and I made a decision to run after him. Of course, after I ended up catching him and then blowing up, and both Neko and myself hit the wall. This is probably the only time I've really legitimately hit the wall, man. Like I nearly didn't make the finish, but do I regret that? It was a decision I made, and
you won the race.
No, I got third that year. Had I won, it was the year that Timo Bruck ran over the top of me and Neko in the last 2K.
Exactly.
But had I won, everyone would have said it was a genius move. But you have to make those decisions on a case-by-case basis. It's a race. And it's Ironman. You don't know what's going to happen. And you never know, because you pay for things half an hour later, and other times I've slowed down and missed wins because I should have gone a little bit harder. But everything is a case-by-case basis, and decisions on pacing come about at that. You make a decision on the course. Do you reckon?
Rinalds?
Yeah, I believe it really depends on a day. How you feel on that particular day, and this is one thing you cannot influence anymore during this day or the day before. Depends on your, I believe, mental state and your stress level, your energy level. Sometimes you feel you cannot go further because you are totally empty. Sometimes you feel you are full, but you cannot concentrate, or your legs just don't want to do what you do. So it's really very, very different from race to race.
I think it's a big difference between professional racing and age group racing, because with professional racing there is really some kind of a tactic, because it's about the win. With age group, it's usually about the fastest time, and the fastest time leads to the best result. You could think it's the same way for the pros also, and you just should do your own race, and you have the fastest time, and then you're gonna win the race. But that's not the case. If you look at Kona, for example, like how the group could protect you, and so I'll have to choose an aggressive tactic on the bike, for example, to catch a group. And then probably I could save some energy in the group, and then later on I have to attack because my running is not so strong. If I'm alone in the race and we'll do like one start every half an hour or something, I'll of course not go so aggressive on the bike first, just go their own pace the whole way. So what you recommend for an age group and what you do as a professional,
it's a very different story.
It's a complete different world. And,
you have to have a much more tactical and strategical approach to racing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that is also something that attracts me in the sport, is that it's not you pay for your decision probably half an hour later, and but that's the interesting thing, because you never know is it gonna work, and sometimes you made a bad decision and you pay for it and you don't have the courage to make it again. But that's a mistake. You'll just have to try it again sometimes.
And
it's not about
after
learning,
all the years of racing, this still remains the same. It's still like this, that is so, okay, I go for it and you will never know.
But I think there's certain styles of races, and guys here are winners. There's some people who are happy to run always for fifth or sixth, but a winner will always take a chance, no matter what. They will.
Do you think the age groupers face all these issues because they try to copy you?
No, I think Sebi's right. I think a lot of that, if you were directing an age grouper, they don't have the same mindset. They want to stay controlled, and they want to set a time, and they chase that, and it's much easier to tick things off, to use your Garmin and run a certain pace. And we do use that to some degree in the race, but ultimately the way the competition is just getting deeper and deeper year after year in the professional ranks, and guys like Sebi are changing the game with the attacking bike rides and the swim now, with guys off the front in the swim, and there's so many people getting out of the water together. The tactics early, there's guys that mightn't win the race, but they can totally influence the race up to the point where, you know, up to the point of the run, which if you're in it or you're not in it, it's influenced by guys that may never show on the top 3 or 4. But with the age groupers, that never happens. But
I mean, therefore, I wanted to ask as a final question, which interests me, is there is now a lot of talk in your group, especially about embracing the suck. And yeah, and they love this. They love it. Do they know what they are talking about? Do these guys really know what it means, or is it something that is just words? And how do you, if you use it a lot, because it's of course a quote of you, embrace the suck.
It's funny how it's become a big thing, because for me it was my way of facing, just accepting that Ironman sucks. Like a lot of you know, it's a beautiful experience and a beautiful day, and when things go right, there's nothing better. But I think a lot of the time you hide behind the fact that you think you can train hard enough that it ain't gonna hurt, you know. And it's never.
You're just going faster, and it hurts even more.
Always hurts.
It's but I think I mean. A lot of people they know it and they want it. That's the reason why they're doing Ironman. If they want to have an easy day, it's not a problem in our world. You know, we don't have to hunt mammoths down. You know, it's very easy. Just lay on the sofa. It's not a problem. But you have to be you have to know that you made this decision. It's your decision. You want to hurt yourself, and that's basically what you do. And
I want to hurt the other guys.
Yeah, that's me too. But I know my coach always tells me if you are really hurt in the race, then you know that the others are really even more hurting and suffering. So then you have to attack. You don't have to attack when you feel great. Then everybody else feels great too. Attack when you feel shit.
Don't you think you're especially gifted to be able to do that?
No, I think everybody's. In the pro ranks, you've sifted through the crap when you get to Kona and a lot of the big races. You've sifted through, and the guys at the top are there. Everyone's capable of performing pretty well. So it's a pretty level playing field to some degree, and I don't think I think we're gifted, but no more gifted amongst the pro ranks, and you know, anyone can win a race. Like if you take any Kona.
But isn't it like this, that you win the race in the brain and you end the race in the brain?
Yeah, you win a race at one moment in a race.
Yeah, but I think that's basically it. When people are saying it, you'll win the race with your brain. It's not like we are playing chess, but it's more like that the brain is in control over the body, and that you are accepting that it's gonna hurt, and try to not make it as a negative thing, but just try to accept it and enjoy it, because I know for me, myself, I know the races where I suffer the most are the best races after they are over, you know. I feel so happy about myself and everything. And the races where I stop pushing myself for whatever reason, those are the races where you like pissed off for the next 2 months and then you'll try to fight harder than the next one. And I think that's what is meant by the mental.
And you can't take it back. That's where I got the embrace the suck from. Is at that moment when that pain comes, you got to embrace it, because as Sebi said, you can't take it back. When the race is over, you go, oh man, you know the moment. You know the moment that you quit on yourself. You know, you're like, you know it. No one else does. And you can hide behind it, but you know it. So embrace the moment.
And then you look in the mirror and you made top 3 or you made top 10, but then you look in the mirror and you're so proud of you. Eh? That you won the day over yourself.
So this kind of embracing the suck, which was, I mean, it's more a whole body feeling, a body feel. That's not having pain somewhere, but the whole, it's a...
So like, what is the pain sort of thing?
Now I think that it's, as I understand it, it's something, it's embracing the suck or the pain is something different than having pain somewhere or hurt, or this is hurting here or here, but it's a whole body feeling.
It's definitely a whole body feeling.
It's just that you are almost dissolving in this pain.
Your body just wants to. It's an uncomfortable. It's not an agony in a certain spot. It's more a. I don't even know how to do this. It's a full body experience. It's your body saying, "Hey, I've had enough. Let's just stop doing this," because you're on this line of uncomfortableness, and you're pushing it. It's not as if your calf's sore or these things are there, but it's a whole body experience, and you just got to embrace that and keep on that line where you're in control. Because if you lose control and you quit on yourself, that's the suck moment that you didn't embrace. So you've got to. And some days you have it, and other days you just don't. But some days you just have this ability to keep pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing.
And those are the great days.
They're the great days. Yeah, they're the great days.
But do you think it's like body and mind? Or for me, I experience that if my body is totally melting down and I'm kind of leaving the body and let it run for itself. And so the pain is more in the body, not in the mind. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, do you think it's body and mind, or is it like you feel like your mind is wandering around and your body goes on?
I know when I'm in those moments of control, when my mind is quiet. I think I lose it when it's like you got a noisy brain, and you can't get it under control. When things are going good, everything is controlled. It's quiet in there. The mind's quiet. It's like boom, things are ticking. But when you seem to lose control, it's loud.
Exactly. That's when people ask you, "Hey, you have been there for around 8 hours. What are your thoughts?" On the good days, I never could remember what I was thinking during the race. Never. Yeah. On the bad days, I could remember what I was thinking, and that's what Andi said, and we call it like flying the whole thing from the cockpit. It's just like feel like a little man inside the cockpit and pushing buttons and make the robot work.
It's almost like.
I always love that, or wonder about when the race directors or promoters promote the race, for instance, the Ironman Cairns, with the beautiful bike course and so on. I believe who sees the beauty around if you are really concentrated, you fly through the race
afterwards.
You can do this on, I don't know, on a train station.
I was with the girls along the Kona highway, Nicole and Yvonne and so on, and we were just stopping, talking, and they said, "Oh, these beautiful bushes." They came there already, I don't know how many times, the first time that they saw these bushes on the lava fields. You see, you cannot... But
maybe they know the bushes on the right course.
Exactly, they know them. But this is a nice one. But it sounds a little bit like a patient in coma, disappearing. The mind is somewhere controlling. It's like, it's not disconnected, but it's...
I don't want to take it too far as outside body experience or something like that.
But it's a very focused situation.
I think that's the reason why people are still attracted to this racing, because you will probably ask yourself, we are talking about pain all the time, and that Ironman racing sucks and stuff like that. But at the end, I think if you are not going out of your comfort zone from time to time by doing whatsoever, you can't be happy. If you're in a comfort zone all the time, you can't enjoy the comfort zone, And going out of the comfort zone, then you know how nice the comfort zone.
You've got to be out of control to know what being in control is.
I know what you're talking about.
Get out of control, man.
Okay, boys.
Alles gut.
Alles gut.
Sprechen Sie Deutsch?
Dankeschön. Good luck.
Okay.
Good luck to the boys.
Good luck, boys. All of you guys.
Thanks.
Yeah.
We watch you.
Thank you.